Which of you is like me? You cannot remember what happened to you yesterday, but you remember every single detail, whether big or small, that happened to you 10 years ago. For example, if I ask you what you ate yesterday, your answer would be, I don't know. I don't remember. But if I ask you about something that happened to you 10 years ago, you will tell me in detail what you said, how you act, how you felt, to the point where you will even tell me what you were wearing. It's like your brain hit the pause in 2016 and forgot to hit play again. And that's literally what happened to me and what I'm gonna share with you in this video. So let's get started. In the beginning, I spent years thinking that I had memory problem. And then I discovered that the issue was much deeper than that. The real shift started for me when I decided to face myself and ask this question. What am I trying to protect myself from with this behavior? Or rather, what idea am I trying to prove every time I repeat this action? Am I trying to prove that people cannot be trusted? Or am I trying to prove my ability to endure? Or how smart I am? Because in my view, behind every repeated behavior, there is a need, or a fear, or even an old wound. As we all know, scientifically, when you repeat the same behavior or the same idea, it becomes more deeply rooted in our brain, and recalling it becomes easier and more automatic. And here we come to the idea of the amygdala, which prefers the thing it knows, even it is harmful, over something that might cause confusion. That's why a lot of the time we go back to the same thoughts, not because we don't know what's right, but because the unconscious is saying, this is painful, but it's familiar, so it's safe. So after knowing the reason, I had to take a step towards the solution. Because knowing the cause alone isn't enough, and because the human brain hates a vacuum, it will easily return to the past every time it feels empty, because there's nothing to replace it. So I had to create a new behavior with the same feeling and the same repetition that gives me safety, but through actions and decisions I make today, not by replaying memories from 10 years ago. For example, after I was betrayed by my closest friend, a conviction grew within me that all people cannot be trusted. And every time someone tried to get close to me, I would go back to telling a story from 10 years ago. This and that happened to me, and I was betrayed by my closest friend. Until I decided to replace that behavior with a new one. Every time someone got close to me, I stopped myself from mentioning the past and took time to think about the matter, and during this time I would write. I am mature now. I am not a victim like I was 10 years ago. The person asked me this and that of me, and what suits me and what does not. And by repeating this protocol, every time I felt threatened, my brain was able to create powerful defensive tools in the present. As a result, it no longer needed to return to the events of the past to protect me, and this alone would not have been enough if I hadn't understood an even more important idea about my brain, which is my brain is not a reservoir where I put events exactly as they are. My brain turned out to be much smarter than that. I discovered that it doesn't store events like a computer. It stores the feelings that I lived at that time, meaning it doesn't remember what happened, it remembers how I felt. That's why every time I went through a situation similar to something that happened to me 10 years ago, I would go back as if I were in the year 2016 and feel the pain all over again. Not because the current events were strong, but because the memory is being replayed with the same feeling. And the really magic was when I was able to change the way my brain stores the image, the sound, or the feeling. And in this way, I was able to completely change the impact of the memory inside me. So the solution is not to erase the past, the solution to change the way your brain is translating this event. Because the past is not what happened. The past is how your brain still sees what happened. For example, it is true I was betrayed by my best friend, and I stayed for a long time living the role of a victim, and at times I started blaming myself and saying, maybe I am the reason. The thing created a lack of trust in others within me. I was trapped in the feeling of betrayal belonging to that 22-year-old girl. But when I was able to change the feeling code linked to the memory, everything changed. I started saying, the situation did not break me. The situation made me stronger. It taught me to distinguish between the person who deserves to be by my side and the person who doesn't. It made me mature. Same event, same betrayal, but two completely different feelings. The first made me a victim at the age of 22. The second made me a strong woman at the age of 32. Last but not least, this was my journey 10 years of being lost. And the three lessons I shared with you today are not lessons written on paper. These are lessons I lived day by day. And because of them, I was able to live in the present with the help of the past, not by erasing it. Okay guys, if you liked my video, please don't forget to subscribe because there is so much more coming up.